This topic of psychology is going to focus on an interesting topic or sub-module called interpersonal attraction. Interpersonal attraction. What is interpersonal attraction? Interpersonal attraction is a type of emotional force that moves us towards or away from another person. So when you notice that you tend to always visit this neighbor, that there are these children in class, your class P4, they are Nantumi is always going to P6 to check on Ocheng. What is there that is drawing them together? Then also on the other part, why is it that this particular child, when you make her sit next to this particular child, she's resisting? We are going to see the forces behind interpersonal attraction. Now, there are what we call determinants of interpersonal attraction, and there are three. One, biological determinant. Two, psychological determinant. And three, what we call the social determinant. Let's start off by biological determinants. Biological determinants fall in about three subcategories. The first one we call it genetic compatibility. It is said there are times people whose genetic makeup is quite similar to that of other people. Now, these people whose genetic makeup tends to be similar, they usually tend to draw towards each other. They form a bond. The second biological determinant is the hormonal influence. Within a lady, what we call the oxytocin hormone, or some people call it the love hormone. Usually, this love hormone or the oxytocin creates feelings of bonding, feelings of closeness. And when kissing or hugging takes place, then these hormones tend to play an effect of bringing people together, hormonal influence. Now, the third biological determinant are the facial symmetry and health. Have you noticed big actors like Schwarzenegger? If you look at their faces, it is quite symmetrical. It's quite symmetrical. If you look at these models, they are quite symmetrical. There's the way they look like, and that is biological. That is why it's usually said, oh, women like these film actors who have square jaws. You see, symmetry makes some people more attractive. So those are the biological determinants of why some people draw close to others. But now, there is also what we call the psychological determinants. What are psychological determinants? Attachment style is one of them. Some people feel secure with a certain form of relationship. When they see that these friends or these would-be friends have a more stable, are more secure, they tend to draw close to them. But those people who are anxious in their nature, they usually repel off certain people. So the attachment style works that way. Then we have the emotional intelligence stability. Some people are very empathetic. They are very loving. They have the ability to handle stress. And usually people draw close to these very empathetic people. Then there is what we call the familiarity effect. People are more comfortable to those they feel. Why? Because they see them frequently. Familiarity effect. So a father goes to Dubai for 8 years. He comes back. And he starts complaining, but you see, I'm the father, these children don't love me, wait a minute. They were spending more time with the mother. So there is that familiarity effect because they have been seeing the mother quite often. And then there's the self-disclosure. What does that mean? An individual who opens up and shares his thoughts and feelings and experiences will usually attract people to her and will also attract intimacy from others. So those ones who keep to themselves do not attract other people. The third is what we call the social determinants. And these ones, there are subcategories in them. The first one are the cultural influences. Some cultures regard others highly. In other words, some cultures regard certain things at a higher level. Let's give an example. In some Western cultures, some body sizes are regarded as quite high. In South Sudan, very tall girls, that is height, is regarded as very key in determining whether someone will get married. In some cultures, the skin color is regarded very highly, whether very dark or very light. Some behaviors like being generous are regarded very highly. Social determinants. Now there is also social status and wealth. Individuals in a high socio-economic status usually possess resources. They have the money, they have the power, they have the prestige. And such people usually draw people to themselves. That is why you notice usually rich people usually complain, oh, when all the money disappeared, all these friends ran away. Hey, wait a minute. They were drawn to you by virtue of your social status. The other type of social determinant, we call it the social influence and peer approval. What do you mean by this? When people work together on a project, that all of us worked on the project of constructing Entebbe Road, usually those engineers will be drawn towards each other while they worked on a similar project. Or if you have two people, they were in a flat and it collapsed, and coincidentally they arrived, they tend to be drawn together because they pass through the same challenge. The other form of that we're looking at is the reciprocal liking. People tend to like those that like them. So people can observe and say, this one always, when he comes to school, he has packed for me a pancake. He likes me. So people tend to be drawn to such. And then finally, social identity. People are attracted to those that belong to the same social group. For example, when a Muslim will tend to buy meat from that butcher of a Muslim. Social identity and ethnicity. So we've gone through those different factors that determine interpersonal attraction. And I hope you will recall the three that we have digested: biological, psychological, and social.